right. What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Brown Girls Glow Live, a show where we talk about girls and how they can give, lead, own, and write their destiny. Today, we have with us a very special guest, a friend of mine whom I met at Rockefeller Center, NBC News, Miss Brandy Kellum. Give her a round of applause.
Thank you for having me. Yes. I remember those days at 30 Rock.
Yes, the 30 Rock days. We were out there doing what we had to do. But you've come a long way since. Yes. I believe we both came a long way since. And I want to talk a little bit about your background. I want to, make sure young women that are 16, 17, they see themselves in you. They know that they can be an investigative journalist or, whatever they want to put their mind to. So yeah, let's get into it. I want to just read a little bit from your bio really quickly so that y'all could know who we are talking to, okay? So Brandy Kellum is an investigative journalist and documentary film director, a National Emmy Award winner, Gracie Award recipient, and Columbia University Tobenkin Prize winner. I hope I'm saying that right. Her groundbreaking reporting on public policy has sparked local and national debates about racial justice, including her 2023 ProPublica series and documentary, Uprooted. And we're going to talk more about that later, which explores the widespread displacement of Black communities by colleges and universities. Additionally, Brandy's work has been featured across news platforms, including CBS, NBC, The Chronicle of Higher Education, Essence, and BET. She holds undergraduate and graduate degrees from Syracuse University and the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Please give a warm welcome again to Brandy Kellum.
Thank you.
Yes. So I want to go back to where it all started, where it all began for Miss Brandy. So can you tell us a little bit about, kind of growing up and what were your dreams as a young girl?
Yeah. So growing up, I actually, I always tell people I really didn't know exactly what I wanted to be, but I knew I wanted to do something that would help people. And so I didn't grow up traditionally like people who journalists today. They always say, I grew up watching the news and, we sat down at the living room television every night at 6:30 watching nightly news or what have you. Well, that was not me. I was probably outside playing tag or something like that. But I think there were things in my early childhood that inspired me to want to tell stories. My dad, he at one point owned a video store where he sold VHS tape video. This is way back in the day, okay? Wow. And then he always used to document our very special family moments. So he had his own camcorder, and we would just do silly things in front of the camera. And at that time, I really didn't know that would actually materialize into a career for me using the camera. But I do think that excitement is what inspired me to want to do and tell stories. And ultimately, I ended up going to college, but I didn't major in journalism. I majored in sociology because, again, my roots were in wanting to help people, help the less fortunate, or just help people in general. And then it was my senior year of college when I was almost ready to graduate, where I decided I wanted to do journalism. So, I think we crossed paths at a time where I was sort of just really getting my foot in the door, right? Trying to make a way for myself, trying to figure it out. And now I'm here today.
Wow. I love it. So now, where were you originally born and raised?
Yeah, I was raised in Chesapeake, born and raised Chesapeake, Virginia.
I thought it was Virginia. Okay.
Yeah, yes. A native Virginian. I spent some time away, but I'm back in the state now, and that's where I grew up. Being raised by both my parents. I have siblings, so we grew up as a very tight family. So I also think that's also what inspired me to do and tell these stories, because we had so many stories we shared with each other as a family, and me and my brothers and my parents when I was growing up. So a lot of the little things that I experienced in childhood, I think, really inspired me for sure.
I love that. Now, the target Brown Girls Glow is high school. So I really want you to tell us a little bit of how you were able to successfully navigate high school, and what do you feel like is like some of the biggest lessons that you learned during that time?
Yeah, so I think if I had not competed as a track and field athlete, I don't know where my mindset would be in my adult life, right?
Mhm.
It's funny, I actually have never told this story, but
Come on, exclusive, Brown Girls Glow, exclusive.
man, I remember the day before I was supposed to go to high school, and I told my parents I didn't want to go. I was really nervous, and I was a very nerdy kid, right? And I wasn't very popular, and I got picked on a lot when I was in elementary and middle school. And so I'm thinking, if you think about the shows you watched when you were a kid and what happened to kids in high schools getting stuffed in lockers and stuff like, I'm really thinking that's really gonna happen to me. So I told my mom I didn't want to go, and then I told my dad, well, if I go, I'm just gonna be. I literally used the word incognito. I was like, I'm just gonna like
so cute.
fall into the, fade to the background, so nobody notices me, so no one can pick on me, and so I could just get through those high school years. Well, that's not what ended up happening anyway, because I started developing a love for sports. I had never competed in sports before high school. And so I started to develop a love for sports. I played basketball first, and then I fell into track. And once I saw my potential as a track and field athlete, it wasn't about just gaining the awards that I received throughout my high school career, because ultimately I worked hard enough to get to that point where I ended up being ranked among national athletes. But when I started, it was really just a confidence builder for me.
Okay.
Track and field is I'm not going to get into all the way, because I could go for days and days in the track and field. But
okay, come on, shout out to all the track and field stars.
Right. It is a very it's a sport that allows you to really develop yourself, right? Because it's an individual sport, but also a team sport. And in the individual aspect of it, you have to be confident. You have to know what you want to achieve. You have to set goals for yourself. And then you have to have the faith that you can actually accomplish those goals. And I think every time I stepped my foot on the track and I had a good race, it was a confidence booster for me. And then I just kept going, and I ended up running track in college. But track was a very big, significant part of my development in high school, and helped me to gain the confidence to even be able to do those lessons I learned are lessons I still carry with me even today.
I love that. I love that. Yes. I mean, of course, I'm definitely big on women athletes. I also, played basketball in high school. The only time I ran track and field was like in third grade. And I remember I came in like third place. I was so hyped, but but I danced like, most of my time. But but in high school, I definitely was those sports. I thought I was gonna, be Lisa Leslie and stuff like that. So
right.
I love what sports can provide for girls, because I feel like, in New York, and I think the statistic is still the same, girls participate in sports at half the rate that boys do, unfortunately. So, so I love to hear whenever, young women, you know what I mean, that, that have been involved in sports and that had an impact on their life. Because I want to share with other people, like, don't be afraid to get sweaty, get out there, and get involved. So yes, I love that. So you ran track at Syracuse. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, UNC. I ran track at UNC.
Oh, at UNC. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I did. I did. I competed on the varsity track and field team for 3 of the 4 years I was at Carolina. So I got to learn a lot of lessons there too.
Wow, that's huge. So did you go into UNC as a sociology major, and how did you? Because I feel like I didn't learn about what sociology was until I got to college. So, where did I know you said you wanted to help people, but you already know, like, what? I know that sociology, which is more, I feel like it also, I feel like people that want to fight for social justice also major in like sociology and want to study like, the systems and why they are like they are and stuff like that. So
No, I started off as a political science major.
Okay, gotcha.
And then I decided, no, I don't think this is the major for me. But I took a sociology class, and then that's when I realized, oh, I really love this. I really love this subject because sociology, is the study of human interactions. Like psychology is sort of like the individualized study of interaction of human action, and sociology is sort of like the group study of that, right? How people interact with each other, and there's all sorts of philosophies and things that go into it. But I was curious about how people interact, and studying the history of that, and the infrastructure and the social structure around human interaction, because I felt like that would inform me and help me be able to help people in a way that actually reaches them, right, through their minds, versus just thinking that I could just solve every problem. I'm really big on problem solving, but I want to understand how to solve those problems. And I believe that in order to understand that, you really have to study people. And so that's what I learned from majoring in sociology, that it was a fascinating subject for me because of the way I was able to study and understand how people interact with each other.
I love that. Yes, I love that so much. Yeah, because like the first time I took a sociology class, like too, it was just like, wow, like this is really like cool. And I love my teacher. And, he was also like the head of Amnesty International, like our chapter at Hampton. So yeah, and Virginia Love, shout out to Virginia, you know what I mean? Okay, awesome. Okay. And then you went on to graduate school at Syracuse University.
I did, because when I graduated, like I said, I only decided I wanted to be a journalist during my senior year of college, and pretty much like my second semester of my senior year. So it was pretty much too late to take any journalism classes. But I started a grassroots effort to get into the industry, right? So I went back home. I had no experience whatsoever, no internships. So I came back to Virginia, and I started at a very, very, very hyper local television station here, Chesapeake Channel 48, which only does news, I think, once. At that time, it was a once a week newscast, a weekly newscast. And I just shadowed people there, and I think they let me operate the camera every once in a while.
Nice.
And so I got to learn how newscasts are put together. That was my first introduction to that. And then I decided that I wanted to continue to get more experience. So I had a friend of the family who had a radio show, an AM talk show in Norfolk, Virginia. And it was a political based talk show. And we pretty much interviewed, or at the time he was interviewing candidates for office, and he formatted his show based off of Chris Matthews' Hardball, when that was a show like back in the day. And so I went to him and I told him I was interested in journalism. And at the time, this was around the time where there was a hiring freeze, and the economy was really bad. So I had a very difficult time getting a paying job. So like my grassroots effort pretty much was get as much experience as I can, even if it's free, right? So I did the hyper local TV station, volunteering there every once in a while. And then Maurice Ward, my mentor,
nice.
who was hosting his own political talk show in Norfolk, Virginia, invited me to shadow him, and then threw the microphone in my face and introduced me as his co-host. Like literally, the first day I showed up at the station, I'm incognito on the back wall, right? I'm incognito on the back wall thinking, oh, this is cool. I'll get to see how he turns the mic on and off. And then he goes, come over to the mic and meet my new co-host. And so from that day forward, I was his co-host, and I did that for about 2 years. And he was the one that actually encouraged me to go to grad school for journalism.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. I love that. So okay. So then you go to Syracuse. I'm sure that's a whole, story in itself.
Yeah.
And then, what did you do internships while you were there, or how did you actually get to NBC? Because I know were you at Fox before you came to NBC?
NBC was my first.
That was your first
job. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, because I had no experience when I graduated from college, undergrad, I wanted to make up for it in grad school. So when I got to Syracuse, I pretty much went ham, right? Like I went crazy. Like I started interning. I had a research assistant job writing on the future of journalism. I had an internship at a local TV station. I had a volunteer reporting opportunity at the local radio station, and I wrote for the local community newspaper all in my first semester while taking graduate level classes. Needless to say, I did not sleep that first semester.
You were hustling. I love it. Okay. Getting it done.
I was like, right. See, I'm not gonna leave here with no experience, right? I learned that lesson in undergrad, so we're not about to leave here with no experience, right? So, and that program was only 13 months, so I only had 2 semesters to really get that experience. So I got it in my first semester, but that worked out for me because by the time it was time for everyone to start applying for jobs and internships in the second semester, I had all this experience, and that's pretty much what got me in the door. And I got an internship. What happened was I got an internship at MSNBC as my hands-on experience because Newhouse requires you to have a couple months of real life newsroom experience when you're in their program before you graduate, like actual reporting for a news station. And instead of reporting for a local news outlet, I opted to intern at MSNBC. So that's how I got in the door at NBC as an intern. But it definitely was all that experience I had up front in that first semester that opened those doors for me.
Wow. Okay, so sometimes you gotta grind it out. Sometimes you gotta hustle it out.
You gotta grind it out. Yeah.
I love it. Okay. All right. So you were at MSNBC with the internship. You graduated. Then you went to NBC. Then you went to NBC.
So sorry. So repeat that question again. I think I lost you. Said I was at MSNBC with the internship.
Right. MSNBC with the internship. Then you went to NBC, or because I'm basically trying to track on how I know that you did leave your job and then, to do the ProRepublica fellowship.
So I lost audio on you, but I'm going to, what I believe you're asking me is pretty much nod your head if I'm saying this, if I'm answering the question, but.
Okay, can you hear me now? This audio is all out.
You want me to come out and leave and come back? Is that what you want me to do?
You can't hear me?
I'm gonna unless you want to text me the question, but I'm gonna keep responding to it because I still can't hear you. Yeah.
You can leave out.
Okay, so leave out and come back. Okay, all right. Hold on, I'll be back.
We'll do a little commercial break. Hey, what's up, everybody? Since I have my poster here, this is my quick commercial break. Watch American Fiction on Amazon. Hold up. I won this poster that I'm so excited about. So it's a little special guest, paid actor in my broadcast tonight. But yes, I want to give a shout out to everybody that's joining in the live, and shout out to Brandi for joining us. All right, she is back. Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, we're going. We're
gonna roll with it. This is what we do.
Yes, this is what we do. Okay.
So you were saying I think your last question to me was about interning at MSNBC, and then from there.
Yeah, where did you go? And how you got to. Yeah, we're gonna track to the film so that we can get into that.
Okay. So I started interning at MSNBC, and I interned there for about maybe 2 months. And at the end of my internship, so I pretty much had 1 week to actually become employed there in an entry-level job where I would essentially be done and have to move back to Virginia. So I was lucky. There was someone leaving a production assistant job at the same time that my week was ending as an intern. And I applied for that job and passed the current events test.
Okay. Wow, nice.
Right. And then I ended up as a production assistant, pretty much an anchor producer. So I would assist the anchors with research during breaking news, running up scripts to them, running up research about what the news was, creating these little mini cheat sheets that they could use to ad-lib off of while we were waiting for guests or waiting for more developments to happen. So I did a lot of that in my beginning role at MSNBC, and I did that for about a year. And then I had that was also another contract temporary position. Okay. So I had a year in that role to get a full-time job, or else I had to just go somewhere else, because are you familiar with how that worked back then?
Well, I was in a contract role at NBC BLK. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's another situation where I found myself grinding, right? Like, okay, we're not going back to Virginia. We got to figure out a way to stay here. And so essentially I had applied for a couple of jobs as a full-time producer, full-time video editor, and Yvette Miley, who's still at NBC now, approved me working on The Last Word. So she shifted as a PA, because I was still trying to get a full-time job there. They shifted me from daytime to primetime so I could get more experience as my contract was ending, right? It's wrapping up. And I ended up doing some booking producing for Lawrence O'Donnell's show as a PA. Nice. And so I said, oh, well, I really like this. I really want to do this. Is what I think I want to do next. And I went to the head of booking for daytime. And this is how I got this job, right? I went to her and I said, hey, I really love booking on Lawrence O'Donnell's show. I want to do this. Can I come in on the weekends and just help the bookers on the weekends, volunteer on the weekends to learn how to do weekend booking? And she's like, oh, you want to come help us on the weekends? And I said, yeah. She said, we have a job opening on the weekends. You're hired.
Oh, wow.
Like, oh, okay.
I love that. Wow.
Yeah. So that's one situation where opting to volunteer turned into a job offer. And I never looked back after that. So
yeah. See, you got to carry a crown before you wear one. I always say that on this show, because giving is part of one of our pillars as Brown Girls Glow. Give, lead, own, write, and write your destiny, really. But yeah, I feel like that is a way that you are going to not only serve, not only pay the rent, that Muhammad Ali says, like, giving and violence serving is the rent that you pay for being on earth, something like that. So yeah, I believe that is very important. So that's awesome. So you hear that, ladies? Volunteer, and you never know, it could turn into some dollars.
Yes. Ultimately, you're going to get the experience anyway, right? So it'll work out. It'll pay off some way. It may not necessarily always turn into, hey, we have a job opening, but you never know. But it also turns into you developing more skills that you can take with you anywhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. That. Okay. All right. So weekend producer. Then I think, did you, and I know we didn't even talk about NABJ, you know what I mean, and how that, kind of helps your career. But, I do want to get to how you, even heard of, the fellowship to work with ProPublica. ProPublica, yeah. So I guess take me from weekend booking, being a weekend booking producer, to how you got to ProPublica.
Okay. But let me give a shout out to NABJ though, because that was the NABJ was the reason why I got that internship at MSNBC out of grad school, because they had a fellowship program. So I had they had at the time, internships weren't paying. So this was, now I'm dating myself, but at the time internships weren't paying. So NABJ had a fellowship with NBC, and shout out to Chris Nelson for opening that door for me and introducing me to that opportunity and sort of mentoring me through that first experience. And he's also an NABJ connection. So definitely it was NABJ strong when I walked in the door, of NBC. And then, worked my way up and had the support of people at the company who were also members of NABJ. And then went from booking producer to, so we're fast forwarding from booking producer to finding out about this fellowship. So essentially what happened was I had decided after several years of booking, I wanted to do more reporting. And so this is kind of like where we crossed paths, because I started doing more writing for NBC BLK. I was like, I just need guidelines. I need to start writing. I need to do some reporting. I need to just get my name on the map here. And so I started doing more free work.
Man.
More free work, but it paid off in bylines, right? And so that allowed me to find another opportunity elsewhere. So I ended up going to working at CBS. I did some booking and some reporting there. I worked my way up to a backpack journalist or a digital journalist at the network in Washington, D.C. So that job basically required me filming, shooting, producing live shots, reporting myself, sending back, news and editorial information back to all CBS News platforms, from all your local news outlets to the network and streaming and radio. And in 2020, I was sent to Minneapolis to cover the death of George Floyd. And so I stayed there for 5 weeks. And I think that really was the first time I ever had a chance to really embed myself in a community. And I think that really fueled my hunger for wanting to do more impactful journalism. I started off my career wanting to do impact. And so what happened was, from that experience, I started looking for opportunities to do more of that type of work. And I found out about this fellowship at Columbia University, which granted journalists a stipend, really, a grant or fellowship to do journalism and reporting in local communities with a lens on how racism and discrimination has impacted those communities. And so I picked Newport News, Virginia, and I started that reporting with a fellowship from Columbia University. But I soon realized I needed to do this full time. And so I started researching other opportunities to report full time on stories like this. And I came across ProPublica's Local Reporting Network Fellowship. And essentially what it is a partnership that ProPublica has with a local newsroom. And they pay a full year's salary for a reporter at that newsroom to report on something that will ultimately lead to impact in the community, right? So I was already reporting and researching Newport News under the Columbia University Fellowship. And under that, I discovered the history of this community that was essentially wiped out by a college there. And I continued that reporting with ProPublica for a year. And over that year, and actually we extended it another few months, because we ended up doing like a 6 or 7 story investigative series, partnering with the Virginia Center for Investigative Journalism at WHRO, which is based in Norfolk. And then we also did a whole documentary, a 25-minute film on this as well, right? So I came away from that experience. I went into it with a passion for doing some impactful storytelling, and I definitely walked out of that with some impact. And the evidence of that is the legislation that was just passed in Virginia, right? That will look at how colleges across the state have uprooted Black communities. Not to mention all the recognition that the series has been getting, from our recent Emmy nomination to the Gracie Awards to the Tobacan Prize at Columbia University. So all of that was definitely a strong team effort, but I'm very proud of the passion that really went into and what really inspired that reporting.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah. I mean, congratulations to you, first of all, for following your heart, right? You were like, I want to do this more, so I'm going to, see how I can do it, see who, what fellowships are out there. So that is determination. That is research. Not only researching the story, researching how to be able to afford to be able to tell these stories about social justice, and so you did the investigation on, who was able to, fund, your investigative reporting, and you went back to your hometown. I love that you went back to Newport News and said, you know what, let's look at, how did racism, institutionalism, white supremacy, impact my community that I grew up in. So that is amazing work. I love that.
Thank you. That was actually very intentional too, right?
Yeah,
because we talked about my experience at MSNBC and NBC, CBS. And I had a lot of I started off in national news. I had a lot of great experience under my belt. I learned a lot, worked with some very talented people in this industry. And I just felt like I needed to go back to back to my roots and take the experience that I learned and the resources that I have and do some impactful work in the local community. Because to be honest, local journalism is really so critical, right?
Mhm.
And you are seeing the challenge of our industry right now with local news outlets who are, some of them are completely folded, but some of them are also struggling to hire reporters like me who can go into communities and do work like this. And so I'm really proud of the fact that I was able to bring it back home. Like I am very proud of that.
I love that. I love that. Absolutely. So I know that actually you're at a national conference right now, right? Shout out to all of the education reporters. I think I told you I have a friend, Darryl Burnett. He's an education editor. So, I really appreciate you all. And my good friend, Aaliyah Slappy, who's in Virginia now, she, started out as an education reporter. So I have much respect for, all of my journalism friends and, people that report on education, because it's so critical, something that is so underrepresented and underfunded, but so critical to our society's development. But I want to just share the last question that I ask every guest that I have on here. What is one thing that you would tell your 16-year-old self growing up in Chesapeake, Virginia? What would you tell young Brandy?
Wow, I think I would tell myself to have more fun, like just get ready to have fun, right? Because I think we are, as women, especially women of color, we are raised to be very focused, very determined. We yes, right. Like so we come out the womb like no, sometimes what we're gonna exactly, we squaring up already because we know the type of world that we live in. And with the high level of achievement that we want to reach, we know we're going to have to really put some work in. It takes a lot of grit and determination and resilience, really, a lot of resilience to be able to be a woman of color in this business. But I would tell myself, knowing where I am now, I would also tell my 16-year-old self, just remember to have fun, right? And I think that's what I'm doing right now, because I worked extremely hard to get to where I am, but I have a lot more that I want to accomplish. And I think sometimes when you're in the grind of everything, you just forget that everything is a process, right? That's first, like everything really is a process, and that you're really doing this because you love it, right? Like you wouldn't put all this work, and you wouldn't, have all these sleepless nights where you lose it like weeks of sleep sometimes, you working on the weekends, making it happen in any way, shape, or form that you can. You wouldn't do all of that if you didn't enjoy doing it. But sometimes I do think that in the grind of everything, we get so focused on that we forget to have fun. And that's the biggest part of all of this, right? Like seeing yourself on the other side of it and how you really came through and being able to enjoy that. That's the moment, really. That's where it's really the moment, right? Just enjoy the moment. So,
I love it. I love it. Okay, young Brandy, I hope you hear that.
Yeah.
So, all right, where can people still see Uprooted online or somewhere? Where can people find the film? And also give, of course, where can people follow you?
Yeah, so you can follow the film and all the reporting. It's still up on ProPublica's website. So if you go to ProPublica and you search Uprooted, it will be there. It is also I also have a website. So if you go to Brandy Kellum, www.brandykellum.com, you'll see all the reporting I've done in addition to that series, as well as a little bit more info about me, and you'll also see my socials there too. So I'm on Instagram at brandkells, on X at Brand Kells, and also on LinkedIn at Brandy Kellum. So I pretty much update those platforms. And there's a way to subscribe if you go to my website. There's a way to subscribe if you want to keep following the reporting that I'm doing.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. Okay. Well, yes, sending much love to you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Oh, yeah. No, it's definitely my pleasure. Thank you for coming on. And I'm glad you're feeling better, too.
Thank you.
So everybody that's tuning in, thank you for joining us. Please share this with a friend. Like, comment, and subscribe at Mia Hall TV on YouTube. And of course, you already heard Brandy Kellum. Visit brandykellum.com so you can see all of her socials and follow her there. And you all keep on glowing. All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.